Rated T for teen.
Four years of Rock Band.
I don't remember anything from that. Nothing. It's all...
We were all like passed out in a heap after we shipped the game. That's why we don't remember anything.
Oh, well, the short answer is I have no idea. I don't remember it all.
It was so crazy. It was like a rough, scary time for us because we had to make a game to compete with our other game that we made that we loved, you know? Like, Guitar Hero wasn't ours to make anymore.
That was just the way it was. Like, we didn't own the Guitar Hero IP, and when that became valuable, it got purchased by Activision.
Guitar Hero was a great brand. I mean, we did invent that brand name, and the logo and the box and everything was done here. So going up against your own creation was interesting.
But man, we loved Guitar Hero and still do, but we had to make something better, you know, and that was hard.
For me, like, my attitude was like, hey, okay, we have this opportunity to take it to the next level and make this game, like the Rock Band game, which really was, you know, for me so much, like, it had so many more aspects of, like, it covered so much more ground than Guitar Hero, which was cool, but it was really just about, you know, this kind of guitar simulator thing. Whereas, like, Rock Band, not only did it do vocals and drums and bass, but all the interactions between them. So it was a much bigger design space and much more interesting.
In Rock Band, we were moving towards this game that we wanted to be immersive for people. So unlike Guitar Hero, where it was like you were watching, Rock Band was you were doing. And so we wanted you to be able to play this game and be yourself, or be your friend, or be your favorite rock star, or invent like an idealized version of any of the above.
So yeah, it was kind of like a big sort of mental shift for us as a company, but you know, I'm glad we went there.
It's funny, it seems weird in retrospect, but it wasn't obvious to us, I think, at the time that it was going to be a party game and it was going to be this like social thing.
Rock Band, there was just so much like energy around the idea of Rock Band that like we were just sort of doing everything, you know, that's why that game is so huge.
I don't know if there was a moment, but I remember a process that went from like it not being fun to it being fun.
If you make a game for a couple years, a couple sequels about making music with a guitar, the fantasy of making music with a guitar, it's only a matter of time before you say to yourself, well, I should probably have a bassist and a drummer and a singer in here too. That would be really fun, you know?
And I remember there was a period early on, like when we first switched it on, it was pretty obvious that it was like 4 solo games that had no relationship to each other. It was like 4 people staring at the screen in the same room, but it wasn't a band. And then we had all this design work to do to figure out how to glue them together. You know, how to make people aware of each other and how to, you know, like have a shared experience.
Boy, pushing that thing out the door.
That was like, I think, as close as we've come at Harmonix to a death march. Like that, like Rock Band 1 was harsh.
And sort of like 2 months before Gold Master, the bugs are rising, as they always do. But this is rising a lot. I mean, this thing is like just, you know, climbing and climbing and climbing. And you know, we're getting a little nervous about that. And then, you know, we were working with EA, with Electronic Arts. They were starting to get nervous. They had never seen a game that had so many bugs so close to the ship date. And they basically said, you guys aren't going to make it.
And they had all these charts about like, oh, here's your bug count and here's your projected trajectory, and you're not shipping until next February. You know, it's like, you're not going to make your dates. It's like, it's, you know, it's not going to happen. We're like, no, it's good. Trust us, it'll be fine. They're like, you know, but the charts that clearly state that you're not going to do it.
And we just totally kicked ass on it. I mean, like, all of a sudden, one day there was that point where the bug count started falling, and people were just on the mother, like, you know, it was insane, and people were working really hard.
It was quite a thing to watch this whole company just like rally under enormous pressure and just like just work miracles.
Someone brought up the concept of a platform. I think it was Alex, where it's like, this needs to be good for heavy metal, and it needs to be good for country, and it needs to be good for rock, and it needs to be good for pop.
We always knew that we had downloadable songs, and the thing just exploded. we were. It's. I guess it seems obvious now, maybe, but back then, there was no large-scale DLC business for games.
Well, there this whole notion of a software platform on the consoles also didn't exist. This idea that you could buy DLC for one title and then have it work with future titles. This drove the first parties, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, crazy because their consoles weren't really set up to accommodate that. So they had to do a lot of work to help accommodate the strange things we were trying to do.
It seems astonishing that we pulled it off, because we really did this thing where we went from making games of, about this size to making a game of like this, was way bigger. In all these different respects.
Like I always say, we're really psyched about making games that are played at parties. I think we're also very proud to make games that are like family friendly.
I think people stick around at Harmonix because there's just like, there's more stuff to do, and I think we all have this sort of driving passion that like, it's like, all right, we created this thing and it was really cool and we had a lot of fun doing it, but it's like we can do more, there's more things out there that we can do, and like let's keep pushing, let's keep finding like new things that like challenge us but also will bring like new experiences to players, and I think kind of once you're able to like make something that I think touches people the way that like Rock Band does, that's like a pretty addictive thing, and it's like, oh, I want to like figure out how will I just bring like more joy to people, and I think that like the things that we make at Harmonix just like bring so much joy to the world, that like it's like, why would you want to stop doing that?
The best part of this job is going out into the world and seeing people playing the game and just like rocking out and singing their guts out and just having this amazing emotional experience with the game. And so even when things get incredibly stressful and difficult here, like just going out into the world and seeing people playing the game just recharges you creatively and sort of gives you new fuel to go back in and keep doing it. So thanks, everybody.
One of the guiding principles of the art direction of the game up to that point was like that it had to be pretty authentic rock and roll, like that anything you'd see on the stage in terms of clothing or whatever was realistic. And so they kind of showed up, the art team said, well, can we break that rule now? It's Rock Band 3, can we start to go in a weirder direction? And so we had a little meeting, and so we were like, well, what do you have in mind? And so they had two proposals. They said, well, we'd like to do a robot arm. And they showed that, the arm, the prototype of the arm, and it was like pretty cool. And then the other thing that they proposed was goat legs, like satanic goat legs. And it was like Ryan and me, and I think Daniel and Paul Lyons, who was like championing these things. And for whatever like convoluted like reasoning, I was like, okay, yes to the robot arm and no to the goat legs. To which his response was, robot goat legs?